Hello there, everybody, on Universe of the BluTubers. This Tuber 22 Tiger Dude, a full Halloween special. And of course, I am not alone. I am here with wonderful guests.
Hi guys, it's Kevin. I can't do that. Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin again. I'm very happy to be on Universe of the BluTubers. Like as you guys can see, I am dressed for the occasion. Happy Halloween to all of you. Very excited to talk about this series that I definitely really do love. So very excited to do that.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's time to talk about a movie franchise that I like a lot. Where we're gonna rank the movies, and yeah, should be exciting.
Hi.
Adam Haskell.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, what's up?
As Mr. Auburn Wanderer or Caden has just said, we are actually going to be ranking the entire Chucky franchise. I figured it'd be so cool to actually rank the entire franchise as a Halloween special for Universe of BluTubers. And since I actually watched the entire franchise, yes, believe it or not, for the first time, I figured this year would be a perfect time to actually rank the Chucky films. So, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and start with our number 7.
Oh God, I don't want to talk about this.
Okay. And I'm pretty dang sure all 4 of us have the same number 7. So we're gonna say the title in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Child's Play.
Chucky.
Oh my God! Finally, I'm not the only one that thinks the original is the worst one. Okay, I'm just joking. Okay. Yeah, fucking say it, Chucky.
So, are we all in agreement that this is the worst Chucky movie?
Probably, honestly, it's not just the worst Chucky movie, but it's probably the worst movie that I've ever seen in my entire life.
And I don't blame you, because it's definitely one of my worst. See a Chucky. Well, just what the fuck? Like, just what the fuck? Like, their attempt at comedy in this movie is just so embarrassing. There's not a single moment in this film that really made me laugh. We follow 2 storylines, like one dealing with Chucky, Tiffany, and they have a son now named Glenn or Glenda, because there's this whole thing like with the whole son-daughter thing between Chucky and Tiffany, since they bicker about a lot. And then we follow the Hollywood storyline with the Jennifer Tilly, like the actual actress, and Redman. So I don't know what Don Mancini, the creator of Chucky, because this is the first film he's directed in this franchise, I don't know what he was thinking with this film, but yeah, this movie really failed. I thought Jennifer Tilly did a very bad job, not only as like actual Jennifer Tilly, but as Tiffany too with the voice work. Same with Billy Boyd as Glenn, one of the worst characters I've ever seen. Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky is the only redeeming thing I could say about this piece of atrocity. But really, yeah, See a Chucky, hands down, it's the worst in the franchise. I truly hated this. And yeah, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen personally. You're next, Kevin.
Oh my fucking God. Where do I even begin with this movie? I mean, I did a nice like 30 or so minute rant over on my channel with Adam Haskell here, and we kind of said all we needed to about this, but it's just the worst. It really is. It's a terrible movie. It's an abomination to the entire franchise. It's just the idea to make it a comedy, it does work. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but this film just goes to the extreme. It's just a bunch of puns. It doesn't even feel like a Chucky movie. At times it feels like a straight up porno film. It has characters that just aren't that interesting. They have like really nothing to do here. And then Glenn, oh my God, don't even get me started with Glenn. Just one of the most insufferable, unnecessary additions to a horror franchise or any franchise that I think I've ever seen. It just really doesn't get worse than that character. There's a reason why they never even brought him back or never even mentioned to bring him back. Just in general, it's just terrible. Everyone's pretty much said everything they needed to. I've said everything I needed to.
Yeah, this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen quite a few movies. And this probably takes the cake. And I haven't seen this movie in about like 3 or 4 years, and that's for a reason, just because of how much I couldn't stand this film. This film is a chore to get through. It features some of the most unnecessary, gratuitous, and outrageous content that I've ever seen on film.
Oh, I agree.
It just, some things that happen in this film are just so out of line and just so unnecessarily graphic and detailed, and it's just cringeworthy. Like it's to the extreme. This film is just terrible. It's lazy. It's forgettable. It's predictable. Any bad thing you could say about a movie, this movie is. The characters in this film suck. The screenplay is absolutely terrible. The directing is awful. There's no redeeming qualities to this film. There's absolutely no redeeming qualities, and that's how bad it is. Yes, To Get Chucky is probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, and I'm never probably gonna watch it again in my life. Hopefully not. It's that bad. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah. Obviously it's my least favorite.
Yeah, basically everything you guys said. It's disgusting. As some of the worst characters I've ever seen, honestly.
Yep.
It's boring. It's lazy. It's just, the score is terrible. The cinematography, in all the other films, the cinematography looks really good, but this one, it looks terrible. Everything about it feels so cheap. The humor is awful. It's just a disaster. It's just a freaking disaster. As a Chucky fan, this shit saddens me. So yeah, easily the worst Chucky film. Easily.
So now we go to number 6, and I know when it comes to this group, I am in the big minority when it comes to this film. My number 6 is Bride of Chucky. I watched this movie with Adam and Kevin, and they witnessed my entire reaction.
Weird time to watch a movie with him.
So they can tell you, they're the witnesses. They can tell you how much pain I was in watching this movie.
Oh, he was.
Oh my God, I hated this movie so much.
So bad I had to leave the room after.
Jennifer Tilly was not even good from the start. I even said this in my Bride of Chucky review, but it made me miss Andy the minute this movie started. So I didn't even get a good first impression with Jennifer Tilly. But the minute she gets revived into the Bride of Chucky, the movie just gets instantly bad from there, and it somehow just gets worse and worse. And then by the time we get to the third act of this stupid movie, I was going insane. Like, I couldn't believe how dumb, just how low this movie went, especially with the third act. And the ending, which obviously sets up for See the Chucky. Wow. Now, of course, I give credit to Katherine Heigl and Nick Stabile. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Like, I actually thought they did very good, and Brad Dourif is still good as Chucky. And I won't lie, there's a few jokes that did work for me, but besides that, I really was not a fan of 90 or 95% of the comedy that this film offered. Bride of Chucky just definitely isn't for me. More power to those that did enjoy this movie, but yeah, this is easily one of the worst Chucky films for me. That's my number 6.
All right, so my number 6, Child's Play 3. Now, look, I know there are fans for this one out there, but for me, the 90s cheese coupled with the Terminator-esque score, it just really doesn't work in a Chucky film. This film in general just seems so confused as to what it really wants to be. It starts off and it's in the future, whatever, which is a cool idea to have it set in the future and at a military school, which it barely focuses on. Like, you think they're going to focus a lot on the military school, and it seems like such an afterthought. It really is. I mean, besides this one character who's obsessed with cutting kids' hair, it's just really an afterthought in pretty much every sense of the word. And then, of course, Justin Whalen is replacing, Alex Vincent in this film, and he's just not Andy. He's, he's going through like I said in my review, he's he does what he needs to do, but he's pretty much just going through the motions. It's nothing extraordinary. The way Andy reacts to things here, it doesn't match up with the way he reacted to things in the other film. There's a romance going on that I do not give a shit about. And Tyler, oh my God, Tyler. Look, Glenn is easily the worst thing to happen to this franchise. Tyler's a very close second. Tyler just believing everything Chucky tells him, thinking that Chucky's actually on his side, having basically the most just normal reactions to the most outlandish things. Yeah, if I see a creepy doll come up to me, I'm totally just gonna be completely fine with it, just say hi and just be, be completely friendly. And then, of course, the climax, which I'm not gonna spoil the climax, but let's just say it starts off at a military school and it doesn't conclude at a military school, and it's just really a misstep in every sense of the word. It's understandable why this was the last Child's Play film, why they decided to change things up. I don't even really like Chucky that much in this movie. I think he has a lot of really dumb 90s catchphrases, and that is why it is my number 5.
All right, everyone. Call it Chucky. I don't have much to say about this just because of how bland and unnecessary this fucking movie is. But this movie is terrible because the characters in this movie are absolutely terrible. I don't give a shit about any of them. Chucky in this movie isn't even as good as he was in Curse. I'm sorry, I like Curse a lot, okay? I'm going to talk about it later. It's high on my list. To go from a film that was really, really dark and I felt like reinvented the franchise, and to go to this, which wastes the character of Andy, and just, oh my God, wastes the character of Tiffany. All of this, there was so much potential for this one. There was so much hype build up. It was going to bring, all these elements of Chucky that just made this franchise so good together. And it's a complete disaster. It's boring. It's uninteresting. I didn't give a shit about the story. I wanted it to end from the beginning. I knew how it was gonna end. I liked the kills. I thought they were really cool. And I thought it was well shot and stuff. So yeah, honestly, I completely forgot about this movie. The day after I watched it, I don't get the hype honestly at all. And that I probably would never watch this movie again because of how unnecessary and boring it is. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Cult of Chucky. So yeah, that's why it's my number 6.
My number 6 is Child's Play 2. So yeah, Child's Play 2. Now, this is the same thoughts I actually have as Tony and Kevin pretty much. I really wasn't a big fan of the first hour of the film, honestly. I wasn't hating it. It just, I don't know. It just, I can be fine with rehashes as long as they still entertain me. And Child's Play 2, the first hour of it, it really didn't entertain me, honestly. But then the climax came around. The climax for Child's Play 2 is incredible. It is awesome. It is so creative. I just love that toy factory and stuff. I love the climax for this film. I love it so much that I really wish I could give this I wish I could have given this an overall positive grade and stuff, but first hour for me is kind of dull, honestly. But I definitely don't hate it. It's just I don't really like it all that much, but yeah.
So now we get to number 5, and my number 5. Oh my God. Luckily, after this, I'll get to the Chucky films I don't hate. But my number 5 is Child's Play 3. The problem I have with this film is actually really just how all over the place it is when it comes to its tone. It tries to be a horror movie, but then also tries to be this comedy movie, and then it focuses on these moments where they're at the military, and the balance between those kind of elements just didn't. Personally, for me, it just didn't work. Kevin just said earlier, the score is so out of place for this film. It's a score you would hear in a Terminator film. So every time I hear the score for this film, I'm like, am I supposed to be watching a Child's Play movie or a Terminator movie? Because it's so confusing with that. Yeah, incredibly outplayed score. The writing is really bad. The dialogue, oh my God, the dialogue. And Kevin, you nailed it. Tyler, the characters, there's really no one to root for, unfortunately, in this film. Not even Chucky. He's definitely not as bad as he was in Bride and Seed for me, but Chucky I still did not really like here. And oh my God, Tyler. Yeah, easily the worst character is Tyler. I mean, the fact that he believes that Chucky is his friend And the fact that Andy tries to warn him about Chucky and he doesn't listen, like, oh my God, it's so dumb. And the movie just gets dumber and dumber as it goes on. And then when we get to the third act, it's really 50-50. There's some moments when we get to that climax where I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then there are other moments in that climax where I'm going, you have got to be freaking kidding me. So, yeah, overall, I hated Child's Play 3. Definitely not the worst in this franchise, but it is one of the worst in this franchise for me. So that's my number 5.
All right, so my number 5. Now we get to the ones that there are 2 Chucky movies that I hate. This one I think is simply just okay. That, of course, is Child's Play 2. Now, similar to Adam, I really want to give this film a fresh rating, but I have to grade the film on its own merits. If we're grading the film on its third act is fantastic. Its first 2 acts, unfortunately, is a very just boring, muddled film that is basically just a retread of the first film. You have Andy, and he's in this foster home, and his foster parents aren't believing him. They think he's crazy or whatever, and it's just not very interesting. The foster parents are really very one-note and very forgettable characters. I mean, we watched this movie like 3 weeks ago, and I'm honestly blanking on a lot of these characters that are in this movie. She actually gets better as it goes on. At first, I really didn't like her, but then I'd say towards like the middle half of the film, that's when she started to get better for me. I think Alex Vincent, in my opinion, is better here. I will definitely say that. I like him in the first movie. I think he's great, but he's even better in this movie. You really feel his determination. You feel how this has kind of scarred him, and I thought he did a really good job with that here. The climax, however, is probably one of the best climaxes of the entire series. You just really feel that urgency, and it feels like, something new. It doesn't just feel like a retread of the first film, and that's what I really do love about the climax. Unfortunately, it's an awesome climax, but it comes from a movie that is very mediocre, and Child's Play 2, that is why it is my number 5.
My number 5 is Child's Play 3. This movie is just okay to me. My issues with the film is that the kills are terrible. These are some of the worst kills that I've ever seen in a horror movie, honestly. I really hate the kills. And the characters are really annoying and really dumb and just stupid, and you don't really care about them. Andy in this film is really bad, which is saying something. I wasn't crazy about Chucky, and just it is a mess, like tonally, like Tony said, and there's nothing just really standout worthy of this film. It's just, like compared to the first 2, it's just it just kind of felt like it was there to make it a trilogy, get some cash and stuff. But I understand from a studio standpoint, but like creatively, it's nothing special. I don't hate it, but because there are aspects that I do like. I do think the story is kind of interesting, and I do get into it, and it's not like boring or anything, but just like the main, essence of Chucky just isn't there for me, and that's why I just think it's okay, and that's why it's my number 5.
All right, my number 5. Now I was flip-flopping a lot with Child's Play 2 in this movie. I have really similar thoughts with this movie for Child's Play 2. Curse of Chucky. I appreciate what they were going for, going back to straightforward horror, going back to the roots. I mean, after See Chucky, it's pretty much what this franchise needed. But I didn't really like how the first hour of this film, it felt like they were trying to make it this big mystery and stuff. And I know they're trying to make it kind of like the first movie, but there was 5 films before this. I already know Chucky's a doll. He kills people. Let's get on with it. I still think if they executed it in a way, I still think it could have been creepy if he came to life a little earlier. So the first hour of it, I think, is pretty boring. I thought the characters were really, I just didn't really care about many of the characters. I thought Fiona Dora was the best character, and she gave the best performance. A lot of the performances I thought were actually pretty shaky in this movie. The cinematography here is gorgeous, though. This is one of the better shot Chucky movies for sure. And the climax for here, just like Child's Play 2, the climax in this movie is great. Like the climax, the last 30 minutes of this film is great. It makes everything come full circle. and I really loved the climax of this film. It was awesome.
My number 4 is a movie you just brought up, Adam. For me, that is Curse of Chucky. This is where we start getting to the okay section of this ranking list for me. I definitely don't hate Curse of Chucky, and I really don't want to sound like I'm repeating what Adam or Kevin is saying. But yeah, just short and sweet. Wasn't a fan of the first 2 acts, but the 3rd act, however, is where I really was sucked in the Curse of Chucky. My problem with the first 2 acts is what you actually said, Adam, is the fact that, you know, it tries to be very mysterious, yet with this being the 6th installment of the franchise, we really don't need any kind of mystery. We already know who Chucky is. We already know that he kills people, so we really don't need that. But, you know, when we do get to the 3rd act, I found it more interesting because not only this showdown between Nika and Chucky was very badass, but I liked how they added more backstory as far as, like, you know, Chucky goes. You know, they really go back to the first film, which I really appreciate a lot, and it's definitely the best thing when it comes to Curse of Chucky. But unfortunately, it does take a while to get to that awesome portion of the film. I did not care about any of the characters. I do think Fiona Dourif is really great as Nika. And I do think that the little actress that played Alice was really good too. Those are really the only characters that I cared about, but I didn't care about her sister Barb. I didn't care about the nanny. I didn't care about the husband or the father. They just don't really do much with these characters. Definitely a beautifully shot movie, and Don Mancini does return to direct this because, you know, Seed of Chucky was his first film, and thankfully this is a better directed film than Seed of Chucky. I'll definitely give it that. But yeah, ultimately, really was not huge on Curse of Chucky. It just comes down to being an okay film, and that's my number 4.
My number 4 actually is the same as Tony. That is being Curse of Chucky. I actually think this is a good movie. Now, I don't mind the characters in this movie. I don't mind them. I just think they're kind of one-notes and underdeveloped, and I think they could have had a little bit more in the story. Fiona Dourif is fantastic. Summer H. Howell is actually a really good child performance, and some of the performances are really good. Some of them are really, really shaky, especially the one who plays Jill. Really not good at all. Really just didn't feel much from it. I really did not care about their relationship in the film. The mystery aspect, yeah, you guys talked about it. For me, it works because the family is, you know, unknown to Chucky, and they're kind of figuring this information out on their own. So it worked for me. The creepy vibe, I really do love. I love the unsettling feel of this one. You could tell they're really trying to get back to their roots, and it really does feel like the franchise is very much going back to that. And the way they tie everything together is just fantastic. I really love the climax of this film. It really is great the way they just everything comes together. And there's information in this film that just makes the first one, it makes a lot more sense. And you kind of end up feeling, without spoiling it, you kind of do end up feeling bad for Charles Lee just a little bit because of what he went through. And I did think that was really interesting. Curse of Chucky, good movie. Definitely really did enjoy it. And that is why it is my number 4.
My number 4 is Bride of Chucky. Now, I do think this film is slightly overrated. I think it's good, but I don't think it's like great like a lot of people do. But I still think it's a good movie. I do think it's funny. I do like the dark aspect to it. I do like Tiffany. It doesn't like really stick out from the rest of the franchise really when I think about it. I do think it gets kind of boring, honestly, in like the first like half hour-ish. Yeah, I do like it though. And that's what I have to say. That's why it's my number 4.
All right. My number 4 is a movie that's just the definition of stupid fun for me. And that is Child's Play 3. This movie is stupid. Okay, like this movie is freaking dumb. But man, this is just one of those movies that I can just watch and just enjoy, honestly. Like, I can just have a fun time with this. I did enjoy it more than Child's Play 2. There's just something about it. It might be just the military school setting. I like the setting there. I thought it looked cool. The military school, I like that. And I liked some of the new characters, some of the people, like Andy's friends. And other ones were pretty stupid. Tyler. But there were moments where Tyler made me laugh because of how bad that child actor is. I don't know. I can just watch this. I can have fun with it. It's pure stupidity, but it's just I don't know. It's just a fun little movie for me. It has a lot of it, but it's just fun.
So my number 3 is going to be Child's Play 2. Now, it's funny how I felt about Child's Play 2 is how I felt about Curse of Chucky. So, not gonna really rinse and repeat what I said there. Basically, what I just said about Curse of Chucky. I didn't really think the foster parents were all that interesting. I will say I prefer this slightly over Curse, and I really liked Andy's foster sister Kyle. I thought Kyle was a really cool character. Maybe for the first couple of scenes, it took a little while to get into her, but after that scene when she and Andy were, like when she was pushing Andy on the swing and Andy would push her on the swing, that's when I really started getting to the Kyle character, and I like where the movie took her. It's just when we focus with the same old thing with Andy trying to convince his foster parents that Chucky is dangerous and all that, and of course they don't believe him. And Kyle, for a while, of course, didn't believe him until, once we get closer to the third act. But yeah, I just thought it was very boring within the first 2 acts, and there are some entertaining moments. It's not fully boring, but there just wasn't enough of that entertainment for the first 2 acts. But definitely the third act picks up. That's where it gets really badass. That entire sequence at the toy factory is just so awesome. Even though this is an okay movie, I will say this. This is the climax in Child's Play 2 is personally my favorite climax in this entire franchise. That's the biggest pro I could definitely give this. The climax is awesome, but to get to that amazing climax, I have to sit through the first 2 acts, which really I just found to be very disengaging. But yeah, similar to Curse of Chucky, I just found Child's Play 2 okay. It is slightly better than Curse of Chucky, but it's still overall just okay, and that's why it's my number 3.
Damn, you really love this franchise, don't you, Tony?
Shut up.
My number 3 is absolutely Bride of Chucky. This is just the definition of a really entertaining, fun film. Child's Play 3, like I said, it just was getting really repetitive and dumb, and yes, this film is silly. Yes, it is a comedy, but it works. It's very self-aware. It's not taking itself too seriously. And the chemistry between Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly, just seeing those two bicker, you really can't go wrong with that. It's just a lot of fun to watch. It also has some of my favorite human characters in these films. I think Katherine Heigl and Nick Stable are actually really good characters. I actually like that these two start to kind of accuse each other. I think that's kind of fun what they do with that. John Ritter is good for what he has. It's just a really entertaining, fun film. It's nothing amazing. It's just something that I really do enjoy watching. I had a lot of fun with it. I was worried it wasn't going to hold up as well as it did on the first time, and thankfully it did. And I can say that I pretty much do love Bride of Chucky.
My number 3 is Child's Play 2. I really like this movie a lot. Obviously, the climax is fantastic, but unlike every motherfucker here, I think the first 2 acts are actually really interesting, and I really like the story. And I think what happens with Andy and everything else going off his like mom and stuff, I think it's actually really interesting. These have my favorite kills out of any film. Especially a certain one in a classroom. That one is my favorite kill out of any film in the Chucky franchise. Obviously, like the climax is fantastic. It's definitely close to being my favorite final act in the Chucky film. But yeah, I really like this film. It's a lot of fun, and I think the story is really interesting, and it has a lot of great kills, and that's why it is my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is the same as Kevin's, Bride of Chucky. Now, yeah. So, unlike Seed of Chucky, which I talked about earlier, this I actually consider a clever and well-written movie, honestly. Like, this movie actually has me laughing a lot. I think it's a very funny movie. It's a very just entertaining movie. It's just a definition to me of just, like, it's a fun movie to watch. Like, it's just a blast. You get introduced to Tiffany, played by Jennifer Tilly, and I thought this was a great introduction to her character. I thought she was a really interesting character in here, and I did really like her in this movie. And, of course, Brad Dourif. Chucky is still amazing. I think this is the most stylish, one of the most stylish Chucky films. Probably the most stylish Chucky film there is, honestly. Like it is just, it's wicked, just wicked stylized. And that's what I really love about it. And I think the cinematography is great. I love the soundtrack. I love the music they play in the soundtrack. And yeah, it's not a perfect movie, but it's just a movie I could just watch every year and just have a fun time with and just laugh at for its goofiness. I just think it's a great time, honestly. It's one of my favorite Chucky movies. So yeah, my number 3 is Bride of.
All right, so now we go into our number 2, and for my number 2, this is actually in the section where I've actually liked these movies.
Oh, fucking finally.
Finally.
I know. And that is Cult of Chucky. I had fun with Cult of Chucky, honestly, and I think after sitting through a couple of okay movies and 3 really, wow, really crappy movies, it feels good to actually be positive about a Chucky movie that isn't, well, my number 1. We'll discuss that later, but it just feels good to be positive about another Chucky movie. I did like the storyline here. I thought it was pretty interesting. The first half I thought was very well paced. There are a few moments in the second half where I did think the pacing dragged a bit, but even besides that, I still found most of the second half to be very interesting, and I found most of the characters at this asylum to be very interesting. Well, not Claire, definitely. The worst character in this film, that is actually one of my issues with Colt, is Claire, and the actress did not do a very good job playing her. I have to even admit it, Jennifer Tilly didn't really get on my nerves in this one. I didn't mind her. I still wouldn't say she's one of the best things about it, but I will say compared to Bride, compared to Seed, I didn't really mind the scenes with Jennifer Tilly, and I am somewhat intrigued where they'll take her for the next installment of this franchise. And Fiona Dourif, just like with Curse of Chucky, she really brings it as Nika. Alex Vincent is back as Andy in this installment, and it was so cool to see him. And although you don't get a whole lot of him, you get a decent amount of time with him. And the decent amount of time that we spend with him, I did really like. The movie is so beautifully shot. I just like the fact that most of this movie took place at this asylum, and I like the more trippier, weird moments that this movie offers. And of course, just the whole storyline of following more than one Chucky, that was interesting. And the comedy here was really good too. I was laughing pretty consistently with this movie too. So Cult of Chucky for me, it was a long road with this franchise, but I'm happy to say I actually did have fun with this one. Of course, my number 1 is still, of course, the best, but this is, in my opinion at least, the second best in this franchise.
Time to piss off every diehard Chucky fan there is. My number 2 is not what you think it is. It actually is the original. I love this movie. I do. I think this is a great movie. I think it perfectly introduces us to the world and everything like that. I think there are some really great performances here. Catherine Hicks is fantastic here as Andy's mom. Chris Sarandon is great. Alex Vincent, really good child performance. He's kind of on and off for me in this movie. Sometimes he's really good and sometimes he's really bad. For the most part, he really is good here. I definitely really did enjoy his performance. Brad Dourif, is just fantastic as Chucky. He just really embraces this role. It requires him, to just really go all out, and he really just brings it with this character, and he really does a fantastic job with that. There are honestly some really creepy moments in this movie. The climax is fantastic, and the whole mystery of the film. A lot of people say that this is, in fact, a slasher, and I hesitate to call it that because there's only about 4 kills in this movie, and the other ones have a lot more. This is definitely more of a mystery film. Unlike Curse of Chucky, there's a lot of stuff we don't know in this movie, and the mystery itself is very intriguing. Child's Play is just the perfect way to start out the series. I really do love this film overall, and that is why it's my number 2.
My number 2 is Curse of Chucky. I love this movie because it just, after the first Child's Play, and I guess arguably the second one, the franchise started to get, a lot more, self-aware and stuff. And I really miss, the dark edge of the franchise. and the really character-driven aspects of this franchise, and this one brought it all back in a fantastic way. I absolutely love the story. I think it's really interesting. I think the characters are really well written and executed. And the climax is my favorite out of any Child's Play movie, just because of like the revelations that happen and just how intense it is. And this is the only Child's Play movie, Chucky movie, that had me a bit on the edge of my seat. It was a bit intense. And I love the end credits scene in the unrated cut. That was fantastic. And overall, I love this film. I love Chucky. I love how dark and serious it is. I just love how menacing it is. My only issue really with this film is just the visual effects aren't that great. But besides that, it's a really memorable experience that I really, really enjoyed. And that's why Chucky is my number 2.
All right. My number 2, Tony, is your number 2. Basically,
Nice.
Tony, what you said about it is pretty much what I'm going to say about it. Cult of Chucky, yeah. I was really looking forward to this movie. Even if I don't like a Chucky movie, I'll still always look forward to the next one, because after all, I'm a big Chucky fan. And I really liked where Curse ended. I thought it ended really great. And I was interested to see where they were going to go with it. And I was really satisfied with this, honestly. Like, I watched this, and I just thought it was just a very interesting, trippy Chucky movie. And I liked the characters in this one a lot more. That's like one of my issues with Curse. I just wasn't really too big with the characters, most of them at least. This one, I liked a good portion of them. I didn't like all the characters. There is like one or two in there that I'm like, eh. But for the most part, I pretty much liked everyone else. I liked how they brought back some old characters. Sure, you don't get like a lot of, like Andy and Tiffany, you don't have a lot of screen time, but they weren't enough to satisfy me, honestly. And the opening to this film is awesome. I just thought this film had a lot of cool turns and stuff, a lot of cool twists. And I liked the whole, I'm not going to spoil it, but I liked, when you watch the movie, you'll know why it's called Cult of Chucky. And yeah, it's just great cinematography, great score. I just really dug this one a lot. This is just, it's what I want in a Chucky film, honestly. I just really loved it.
And now we get into what we consider to be the best in the franchise, and obviously it's a no-brainer. The best one in the franchise for me is obviously the original Child's Play. How we explore the origins of Chucky, like how it all began, starting with the doll, I just found to be so compelling. And I thought the performances were very strong. Catherine Hicks is absolutely fantastic as Andy's mom, and obviously Alex Vincent as Andy. He's really great here too. I truly do think Alex Vincent gives one of the best child performances when it comes to Andy. And of course, Brad Dourif, like with these other films, including even the worst in the franchise, in my opinion. Even with that, to me at least, I still feel like he really brings it with his voice work. And I really like the balance of this film being funny, but also creepy. Like, it could have its funny moments, it could have its creepy moments. Hell, it could even have moments where it's just plain both creepy and funny. And I thought that's what made this very interesting. And what, like you guys have been saying, the whole mystery, the whole mystery in this film, I just found to be so interesting. The writing is very well done. Yeah, this movie was a nice way to introduce me to a franchise that I'm sadly not a fan of, but you know, the way they did introduce this world, I just found myself just so interested in. I just had so much fun watching Child's Play. Obviously, I had fun with Cult of Chucky, but I did have a little bit more fun with this one just because of just how everything all began, and just rewatching it, I could still have a lot of fun. Obviously, that's why Child's Play to me is the best in this franchise.
All right, Cult of Chucky. My biggest reason why I love this one more than Child's Play is because in every one of these films, all the characters to me, as much as I did like Andy's mom, as much as I like Andy, just weren't the most, interesting individuals. The characters here, they're a lot more complex. I felt a lot more attached to them. And even when some of them died, I honestly did feel a bit of a void there because I really did like these characters. I think this is probably the strongest ensemble we've had. Yes, there was a weak link in there, and that definitely was Claire. I will completely agree with that. Claire was just kind of insufferable at points, honestly. I really was not the hugest fan of her. She has a really good moment towards the the second half of this movie, but other than that, not really a fan of her character. I also thought that the whole mystery in this film, I don't want to spoil a lot because it's a film that really is built on the element of surprise, and there's a lot of surprises in this film. Getting Alex Vincent back was really cool to see. I thought, just like Adam, they used him just enough. They did enough with him. I thought it was really cool the way we finally got backstory with this character. And the fact they brought back Alex Vincent in general, I think is really badass, and I definitely really love that. Jennifer Tilly, again, similar to Andy, she's in this film just enough. And Fiona Dourif, I thought, was even better in this film, honestly. I loved her in A Curse, but I thought she was honestly even better here. She really does a fantastic job. And the twist in this movie, I know a lot of people have probably predicted it, but it's something that I didn't actually think this franchise was going to do, but it was something I always hoped they were going to do, and it just took this film to a whole new level for me. It got me so pumped for Chucky 8. It's really funny at points. Brad Dourif really gets into the character here. He's given some of the funniest stuff he's ever had to do in this franchise is in this film for sure. It has some really great character moments. It has a really great mystery. It has some really great kills. The kills, they really go for it here. It's really graphic stuff, and I really loved it. It really just has everything for me to offer in a Chucky film, and that is why it is absolutely my number one.
Okay. My number one is the original Child's Play. And this one is the best one. It is also my favorite one. The reason why this is the best one is not just because the first one, it's because it's the only Child's Play film where I feel like it went to its fullest potential with the characters, with the story, with the horror aspects, the kills, everything. The characters in this film are really, really well written. Like Andy's mom is fantastic. Andy, the actor who plays Andy, I forget his name. Who plays Andy again?
Oh, Alex Vincent.
Yeah, for a child actor, he's actually pretty good. He really captures the horror of being terrorized by a doll that he wanted so bad his mom was trying to get and stuff, and it's being like this cursed doll. And it is a really creative horror film that honestly, while it isn't like that scary, it is creepy. It does. I like the POV type stuff. And there's some other kind of jump scare parts, and the scares are continuing on because of that. And the climax is just fantastic. No one really talks to the climax for this film. This is one of my favorite climaxes of all time. I do like the Curse one more, but this one is just extremely unpredictable. It's really intense, and it's really well executed and directed. This film, I think, is just fantastic. It is one of my favorite horror films of all time. Chucky is just great in this film. I've seen this film, I think, 3 or 4 times, and it never gets old. I saw it in theaters with my boy Adam here.
Yeah.
That was a fun experience. So it's classic, and I love it. That's why it's my number one.
Obviously, my number one, I mentioned this film. It's obviously the original Child's Play. Yeah, basically what you guys said. It's just the best Chucky movie. I don't know if we're ever gonna get a Chucky film that'll ever top this. I don't think we ever will, honestly. It's just the characters are so interesting. I really love the characters in this movie, and the acting is just. I think this movie has the best acting of the entire franchise. Brad Dourif is amazing, and the kills. When there is kills in this movie, the kills are really awesome in here. The score's great, and I'm so glad Caden actually brought the climax because not a lot of people do, and I love the climax for Child's Play. I think Child's Play has an absolutely just creepy, just awesome climax. I mean, I just love it, and I just love this one. I think this is easily one of the. I think this is the creepiest Chucky movie. Like Caden said, it's not really scary, but it's definitely creepy, and I think out of all the Chucky movies, it's definitely the creepiest. It made me a big fan of Chucky, so yeah, Child's Play, just a great first installment to this long-running franchise.
So you guys, that is our ranking for the entire Chucky franchise. I want to thank each of the guests here, starting off with Kevin Falk. Thank you so much for joining, sir.
Oh, of course, man. It's always great to be on your channel. Always really do enjoy collabing with you. Check out my channel, by the way, guys. Adam and I actually did reviews of each of the Chucky films, from the first one all the way to Curse. But definitely check those out because I really had a lot of fun doing those. We're also going to be collabing on the Saw franchise.
Thank you very much, Caden, for joining this ranking video.
It was nice to be here. It was a fun time being on here. I make really shitty music if you want to check it out. And Adam.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Tony. And it was awesome. I love Chucky. I love talking about these movies. I could talk about them all day. So yeah, thank you for having me on. And you can subscribe to my channel, Adam Haskell's Blu-rays. I'm gonna try to get more videos out soon. So yeah, thank you, Tony, for having me on.
Of course, you guys, comment down below. How would you rank the entire Chucky franchise from worst to best or best to worst, whatever you prefer? I'd be very interested to hear your ranking of the entire franchise. It was definitely a lot of fun ranking that with these guys. And everyone out there, I hope you all have a very safe Halloween. If you like what you've seen in this on Universal BluTubers, be sure to hit that subscribe button. So this is 22 Tiger Dude here, getting spooky here on the BluTubers channel with Kevin, Caden, and Adam. And don't forget that all of us will always have
Tiger Power.
Tiger Power.
Tiger Power.